I am Rebecca, currently a year 2 student from NUS. So firstly, I would like to thank Prof. Angie for inviting me to this seminar. For context, as she mentioned, I used to be a student of Prof. Angie, who has been teaching mindfulness lessons in my university. I happened to take her module in the last semester and benefited a lot from her teaching. So that is why when Prof. Angie invited me to this seminar, I immediately accepted her invitation. One reason, of course, is to show my appreciation towards her. And another more important reason is that I hope through the sharing of my personal experiences, I can show to the people, which is you today, how mindfulness has reshaped my life and my relationship with the people around me. In today's case specifically, it will be on my mother. So hope my experiences will be inspiring to you. And without further ado, let me start on my sharing today. So as Prof. Angie mentioned just now, today's topic is growing up disliking my mother. Well, that perfectly describes my view towards my mom. And I know a lot of you may find it relevant, or some of you may find it shocking to hear me say this, especially when filial piety is the most important Asian value that we've been taught since young. However, don't be quick to judge. Let me share with you a little bit about my family background now. So, well, my parents were married in their late 20s while founding their own business. So shortly after their wedding, my mom was pregnant with me and followed by my brother in the next year. So they have decided to leave my brother and I to my grandparents since they are too busy with their business. So since our focus today is about mother, I will talk more about my mom. So I think my mom is someone that does not fit the traditional definition of being an Asian mom. Why do I say this? It's because I feel that she puts more emphasis on her career rather than her family. So, well, since young, she has never prepared meals for my brother and I or for the family. She also never really checked on us in terms of school progress. She didn't know how to, she didn't take care of our daily needs as well. So from my memory, I have never ever had any heart-to-heart conversations with her. And she basically didn't know how to comfort me when I feel sad or any negative emotions. So I think it is because of this lack of company and lack of presence that makes me feel a lack of maternal love like throughout my life. So when I was like 4 years old, she put me in boarding school till I was 13 years old. And then she decided to send me overseas to Singapore. So, and throughout my 9 years of residence in Singapore, she has only visited me like twice. Yes. So I would say that our relationship had actually become even more distant after I came over to Singapore. Because our communication, our rate of communication has like dropped to a new low. And of course, we still did like video call or FaceTime sometimes, but even during those times, the call always ended on like very terrible note, because like we are either fighting or like we are holding very, very different views towards certain topics. So that was when I decided to reject her calls whenever she called me. Because I mean, anyways, the call will just end up in us quarreling. So I would say our relationship has progressed from like being negatively, from being hostile to like distant, which built up this very huge barrier between the two of us. And I just didn't know what to do about it at all. And maybe now you may want to like ask me, have we tried to talk it out? Like just like how normal people solve their problems? Yes, of course we did. So as I grew older, I tried to fix my issues with my mom. However, like every session or every conversation still ended up in us quarreling and hurting each other again. So I was almost giving up on trying to fixing my relationship with my mom until I attended Prof. Angie's module. Yeah. So I think Prof. Angie's module or her teaching has really taught me how to approach my mom in a better way compared to before. So how it happened is that I remember that Prof. Angie hosted this retreat for all of us one day. And one of the activity was called mindful walking. So yeah, for your knowledge, mindful walking is like basically the practice of becoming aware of our surroundings when we move and how our body and mind feel when moving. Yeah. So we were walking along like these yoga mats, and while we were walking, the instructor was also sharing. Yeah. So I felt enlightened to realize that only when we let go of the previous step, we are able to move on with the next step. So if I can relate this to real life, it just means that I can only move on to the next stage of my life if I can let go of the grudges I hold on from the past. Yeah. So this has really reminded me of my relationship with my mom, because I suddenly just had this realization that the reason why our relationship has been bugging me over years and years is not really because of her. It's because like I am unable to come to terms with myself. I am unable to come to terms with how she treated my brother and I, with how she just didn't have that strong of a presence over my growing years. And because of all this, I am unable to forgive her for her absence. Yeah. So I guess I just hold on to all these grudges over the past years and consciously push my mom away from me, even though she tries to get closer with me. Yeah. So but then while I was working on the yoga mats, I started asking myself this question: is she really that a bad mom? Yeah. So I started recalling the times when she would actually uh, drive my brother and I to school every morning and pick us up every night. She will actually come for every parent-teacher meeting, even though she's very, very busy. And she tries to make time for all the important milestones in my life, even though it may just be like a small competition or performance. Yeah. And even though she's very thrifty towards herself, but she has never been thrifty towards my brother and I, in the sense that she always makes sure that my brother and I have the best access to educational resources, like best schools, best food, best care, and etc. Yeah. So, well, after I started thinking in this way, I feel that she's not a bad mom after all. So within her capacity, I feel she has done the best she could. So while it is still a fact that she prioritized her career over me and my brother, I recognize that she's not only my mom, she is also an individual, a proud woman who has her own ambitions and pursuits. So I remember after the retreat, I just decided to take the initiative to call her. And this time it's surprising because we didn't fight at all. And it was just a okay, like quite okay-ish talk, knowing that she's doing well recently. And the call ended on a quite on a quite good note. Yeah. Yeah, so I would say that Prof. Angie's teaching has really allowed me to change my perspectives to be more positive. So remember just now that I mentioned to you guys that my mom always tried to video call me after I came over to Singapore. I think back then, like all the rebellious teenagers, I always believed that her calls were meant to supervise me. Yeah, so such as like asking me how I did in school, like how if I've been reading news, if I've been dancing consistently. So her course always imposed this huge amount of pressure on me, which I feel very resentful towards. So but however, like after Prof. Angie's module, I have come to understand that maybe she was just trying to retain the connection between the both of us. And she must have been very, very eager to find out what is actually happening in my life. And like out of the fear that I may be facing some issues, or I may not have been taking care of myself properly. Yeah. So thinking back, I felt that she must really have felt very, 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 very sad or lonely or disappointed that I did not want to share with her my life and kept rejecting her cause. So well, now I truly regret what I've done to her before. But I guess thanks to Prof. Angie, thanks to mindfulness, I have been approaching my mom in a better way since the start of this year. So we have actually mutually agreed to video call each other once every week. And the call is not for us to like purposely like find stuff to talk about or like to force conversations. It's more about just to share what happened to us in that week. Yeah. So I think my mom has also consciously stopped to talk to me in a very condescending tone or condescending manner. And instead, she just purely enjoyed our story times together. And she also started to focus more on my emotions rather than the facts or the actual things that I am saying. So we are definitely more comfortable talking to each other now. Yeah. Okay, so as my story comes to an end, I think I would like to say that my change in perspective has really got me to think about my role as a daughter as well. So I think when I was young, I keep blaming my mom for not being a good mom. But what I have neglected is that I have never thought about myself whether I have been a good daughter. So well, I think I didn't do a good job because I would like actually constantly shout at my mom or like say mean stuff, or like basically display unwillingness to talk to her, or have a very apathetic attitude when she tells me about her challenges, about her difficulties in life. So I think there is really no point playing the blaming game while I share part of the blame for the relationship that we have shared. Yeah. So I think thinking in this way also helped me reconcile with myself and serves as a source of motivation to reconcile with my mom as well. Yeah. Okay, so to end off my story, my relationship with my mom has actually begun to heal. But of course, there is still a very long way ahead of us to be truly close to each other. However, knowing that we are working on it together serves as a source of comfort to me. Yeah. And hope my story has been inspiring to you today. And if any of you wish to talk to me after the session, I would love to pass my contacts to you. And thanks for your kind attention. And now passing back to Prof. Angie.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that very heartfelt sharing. I'm sure if your mom was listening in, she would be so touched to see your transformation. Yeah. Has she said anything to you about noticing the changes in you?
Yes, I mean, the fact that I think we both see changes in each other and our conversations basically have like become more and more smooth, yeah, as the weeks go by. Yeah.
So, to all the viewers out there, it's when you make the change that change has this powerful ripple effect on others. So, when Rebecca stopped trying to change her mother, but instead made the change on herself, the impact had been incredible.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
And what if you had not taken the module? How do you think your relationship would be today?
Wow. I think it's very hard to imagine because I think the problem has been like the problem in our relationship has been existing for quite a while. So, and it's not that I've never tried to fix this issue with her. So after trying so many different methods, we still couldn't find like a solution, a plausible solution to proceed means that I think if I hadn't taken the module in NUS, our relationship will just remain as what it is. So we'll continue to be quite distant, quite hostile whenever we talk to each other. Yeah.
So it's not a case that you didn't try to improve the relationship, you did.
Yes.
But what were the skills that helped you to
Oh.
apply in order for there to be a positive difference?
Okay. I think when the main difference is about how I approached my mom, and that difference comes from my thoughts itself. Yeah. So before I took the module, how I tried to resolve with my mom is basically I will pinpoint out all the problems that I felt she had, and I will just say it to her face, like show it to her face, and hopefully she can recognize her faults. Yeah, but I think this way is very confrontational, and it just makes her lose her pride as a mother as well. Yeah. So I think after I took the module, the main difference is in my perspective. It's about how I should change myself first before approaching her, before I want to change her. Yeah. So after I took the module, I think my perspective towards her has become more like lenient. Like I am not so unforgiving about whatever she has done in her past, and instead I became more understanding towards why she has made certain decisions. And I think this has really helped me like reconcile with myself first before reconciling with her. Yeah.
So it was a shift in your perspective.
Mm.
As you had mentioned earlier, you also reflected on whether you had been a good daughter, not just whether she had been a bad mom,
Yeah.
whether you were a good daughter. And when that dawned on you,
Mm.
how did
Yes.
that cause you to feel?
Oh my. I think when I realized that, the first emotion is, of course, I felt very, very sorry for her. Yeah, because I think it's like very hard to see uh other people's perspective when you are too trapped, when I was too trapped in my perspective. Yeah. So but after I've started to see like I wasn't being a good daughter as well, she must have felt the same amount of pain, disappointment that I felt from her. And maybe she would even feel more, because I always believe like descending love, which is like parents to children, is always stronger than like ascending love, which is from children to parents. Yeah, and that is why like she's still willing to put up with me, even though I had such a bad attitude towards her. But yeah, I think I felt really, really sorry. And because of this, I started to like basically decide that I really wanna be kinder towards her. Yeah, in the end. Mm.
Yeah, that is so amazing. I mean, I think she must have felt so much emotion when she realized that you are no longer judging her so harshly, and
Yes.
even appreciated what she was trying to do was to give you a good life, right? By
Mm.
working very hard, providing you with a lot of comforts and luxury in life.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
may not have been important to you, but to her, maybe, she didn't come from a very wealthy background, perhaps, and wanted to make sure that you do not suffer what she had to experience. Could that have been a possibility?
Yeah, I think I always take like like the ability to spend as a very, like I always took this as for granted, because she and like basically my parents had really provided me with a well-to-do background, so I didn't have to worry about my finance. But actually after I've come over to Singapore, I've actually seen a lot of my peers like struggling with their finance,
Mm.
and like some of them even had to like support their own university, which is something that I couldn't imagine myself to be doing, because I'll definitely not be able to do it. Yeah. So I think after like this exposure, I've also come to understand like it's also not like easy for them to provide me with this background that I do not need to worry about my finance. Yeah, instead I can just focus on pursuing my studies and become a better, like, yeah, better people. Mm.
So you're perhaps giving a lot of hope now to the parents out there that one day their children would appreciate them more and be able to see things from their perspective. And what would you say to these parents, who may not have the opportunity for their children to go through the mod that I teach at NUS? What would
Mm,
your advice or your words of comfort be to these parents?
mm. Okay, I think like just looking back at my relationship with my mom, I think the most like important, if I could change one thing, I would really change how we communicate. Yeah. So I think a lot of parents, including my mom, she was very condescending towards me. Yeah, and she always felt that I do not have the ability to manage my life, and she always wants to be there like 24/7 to supervise whatever I have done so that she can rest assured like I am on the right track. Yeah. But I think to all the parents out there, I know like you all are doing this for the good of your daughter or your son, like basically your children. Yeah. But I think as time passes by, we will be bound to grow up. And yeah, we are bound to have our way of doing things. And it may not be the same as what you think that is best for us. So I think it's important to like give advice as a parent, but if the child insists on what he or she wants to do, maybe sometimes it's better to let go, to like learn to let go and make us take the path that we want to take. And I don't think we will like in the end like come back and blame the parents like, oh, why you never stop me from doing this. Yeah, because I think as like a grown adult, we also have like our own judgment already. Yeah. So it's really about like communication, like don't make your children feel like you are just telling them what to do, but instead respect their opinions as well. Yeah.
So, that was a really good piece of advice to parents to stop telling their kids what to do. But do you think that is as a result of parents not trusting their children or not being able to let go or respecting their kids' wishes? Which do you think it is? It's the biggest reason that parents
Wow.
keep telling children what to do.
Hmm. I feel it may stem from a result of like over caring for their children. Yeah, because I think like ancient parents are very, very devoted to their children, including my parents. And sometimes it may cause the children to feel too overwhelmed, yeah, by the love actually. Yeah. So I think maybe parents can also try to think of like ways to enjoy their life. Yeah. So find something that they enjoy doing and don't don't need to like pay too much attention on their children after they have grown to become adults. Yes.
So you feel that they come from actually a place of fear, from being wanting to be protective to ensure that their child doesn't make the mistakes that they made or to help them avoid pitfalls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think the age would be for parents to start letting go and allowing their kids to choose their own path, right? And to make their decisions
Mm.
and to live with the consequences of their decisions. What do you think that age is based on your experience growing up, especially with your parents not even right next to you as they were in a different country?
Yeah, okay. I think this is a very difficult question to answer because I think every child has like his own path of growing up, right? Yeah. So but I would say like generally around the teenage year, like is the teenage years that maybe from secondary 3 or 4, like we will tend to have our own opinions already. Yeah. So but I am not saying like parents can just like completely let go of their children, like just don't care and let them explore their path. But instead, it's like let go slowly, like step by step. So give them more and more freedom while they grow up. Yeah.
Hmm. So it sounds like what we talked about, the brain, right? The amygdala, which
Yes.
survival brain, is now fully developed at age of 15. So that's when the kids also want a sense of independence, not to be told what to do, and to be more respected and trusted.
Yes.
So if your mom had changed her approach to how she spoke to you, apart from being less authoritative, what else do you think she could have adjusted that would have helped the relationship to be less tumultuous?
Okay. Are you like talking about it as like in the past, what she could have done better, or like
Yeah, in the
more?
past, so
Oh,
that the parents who are listening in have a chance to reflect on how they can do the adjustments now
okay.
to improve their relationships, yeah, with their
All right.
children.
Okay, I see. Yeah. I think if as like a daughter's perspective, what I would really appreciate if my mom could have done this is that I wish that she could have like a weekly, or like maybe don't have to be very frequent, but at least a weekly or monthly heart-to-heart talk session with me. Yeah. So I think what happened was that my mom was really caught up in her work, and every time is I will go for school very early in the morning, and she has not wake up, and when I sleep at night she has not come back from her work. Yeah, so we didn't really have any chance to interact, but I would really appreciate if she could have just like maybe brought me out for a dinner or a lunch over the weekend, and just to like ask me about what happened in school, what kind of doubts I had, or what kind of issue I had faced, and maybe offer her like comfort or suggestion. Yeah. So don't really have to be very frequent, like daily, because like, yeah, I know parents are busy. But maybe like just make it a weekly or bi-weekly thing, that then I think that's really how children can feel close to their parents.
Mm.
Yeah.
Did you feel she was affirming, or did you feel that she was critical of you?
You mean like in the past?
Yeah.
Oh yes, she was very, very critical. So yeah, so I think one of her favorite strat is she likes to compare me with other children. Yeah, she will always say, "Oh, you look at my friend's daughter, she got championship in whatever competitions. She has like grade A for this subject, but you don't have." Yeah, so I think that really made me feel very like resentful, yeah, towards her. And I suggest like parents not to do this to their children, because actually maybe to you it sounds like a very simple statement, but I think to the children it can be quite hurtful, especially when they are young. Yeah.
So did you feel that you were never good enough for your mother?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, there's some comments and also questions. So I'd like to encourage people to put it into the questions and for you all to upvote. I believe the upvoting is turned on, but if there isn't, that's okay. I think we could get through the questions as there are only 7. Rebecca, you might also want to take a look at some of the comments that have been very congratulatory towards what you have shared, and that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and also in the Q&A, somebody mentioned so succinctly, it's to assume kinder thoughts of others in relationships. And from Corinne, admire your courage and authenticity. Rebecca, change starts with us indeed. And a question here, what would be your advice for mothers like us on how to treat our daughters in teenage years? I believe we have covered that. And aptly said, Prof. Angie, the change has to be intrinsic from within and not expecting for external change. Okay, and there's one question here. How about relationships with other people? Have those changed since mindfulness? So perhaps the question is related to your relationships with your friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've actually shared with this in our class before also, right? Yeah. So I think with my friends is being mindful is, so I have learned this concept about mindful hearing and mindful speech. Yeah, so it's about how to say the appropriate thing at appropriate time, and how to not say things at appropriate times. Yeah. So I think this has really changed my relationship with my friends, because more and more friends are coming to me to basically confide in me their problems. And when they are going through their stories, I used to be the one that actively gives advice, gives suggestions, gives my opinions, because I thought that through this way, my friend will think that I am actively involved in their thoughts as well. But actually, afterwards, I realized that maybe what they wanted is not like advice or suggestions, because they may already have an answer to that. But the main purpose of them confiding to me is that they just purely wanted a listener. And probably an empathetic listener that can understand their emotions. Yeah. So I think after this, it's like I did not have to actually come up with replies, even though I so like basically mindful hearing means like I don't talk, right, while they talk. But then even though I do not talk, I can like come up with replies very naturally that fits what they want to hear. Yeah, so yeah, I'll put it this way. Yeah, so and this has made quite a number of my friends feel that I am more understanding now. I am more sweet now. Yeah, and they feel closer to me now. Yeah, so this is how mindfulness has changed my relationship with other people as well.
Wonderful. And to those of you who are wondering what course would it be at Brahm Centre, it's the mindfulness-based stress reduction course, and actually there's a new run starting next week. So if any one of you would like to learn how to mindfully communicate, you may wish to sign up.
Mm.
Okay, there's a question here. What would be an appropriate age for children to be exposed to mindfulness? My answer to you would be as young as possible. And that means as a parent, we practice mindfulness and we develop this sense of being able to be empathetic, to be able to see things from different perspectives, to be less demanding, to be more caring, and to be present with less judgment. So once we are able to embody these attitudes and develop the skills, our children will benefit, and there will be an osmotic way of teaching them to also develop similar skills. So it's not so much about sending your child to a course, which you can, but as a parent, if we are not very mindful, much is going to be lost on a young child. Yeah. So it's different with Rebecca. I mean, she's an older
Yes.
student, right? And she has her brain fully developed in terms of being more mature and being able to look at things different perspective.
Mm.
Okay, this is a very good question coming out. How did your brother relate to your mother? Is it the same case with your brother?
Okay. All right. So just for context, my brother is not in Singapore, so he is still in China, and he didn't go through the module with Prof. Angie. Yeah. So I would say that both of us did not share a very close relationship with my mom in the past. Yeah. And after I've taken Miss Prof. Angie's module, I've tried to change myself. And that's how the relationship also had some changes. But I think for my brother, he was still like caught up in the past grudges. Like he still held on to such things like lack of company. And so he actually constantly blames my mom. Yeah. But I think after I've changed and my relationship with my mom has changed, my mom has also become kinder to him. And he has also felt the changes from my mom. Yeah. So I would say they still do not share as intimate relationship as me and my mom, but because of my mom's change, it has actually impacted my brother's change as well. So he has also been kinder, like with his words, and I think if you want to ask me about the KPI, it will be the number of times he goes back to visit my mom has increased, yeah, compared to the past. So I would say like this is like a ripple effect kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, the fact that you changed and your mom changed and your brother changed. Any change with your dad as well?
My dad, I I think because my dad has always shared a okay relationship with me and my brother. Yeah, so I think he was even more surprised by my mom's change. Yeah, then yeah. So I think basically overall, I think my family has become like closer, and we will like constantly hold like an entire family call. Yeah, which is not frequent, but at least better than last time.
No, that's wonderful.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, two more questions here. How important is the language, the words we speak, as this is often a barrier? So, you probably experienced that. Rebecca, would you like to share?
um,
Choice
okay.
of words, right? Whether it's from you or from your mom. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think it's like after I start, like my perspectives have become more positive. The language or the words I use have become more positive also. Like even though it's to, let's say, like point out a fault in something that maybe my mom has done or my friend has done, I try to speak in a gentler way that is more accepting from the other person's perspective. Yeah. So I think with this, it's really, I think, need the change, or like the change with your thoughts is very important. Like if you caught yourself up in these very negative thoughts, negative emotions, of course the words that come out of our mouths may be mean, maybe harsh. Yeah. So recommendation is still change within yourself. Yes.
That's great. Thank you. So I think the last question here, and then I'm going to summarize. How do you maintain this mindfulness consistently with people? Sometimes I observe that, say, a same person often gives unkind comments and judge people. I can be kinder, and how long do I keep this up if the person maintains such an attitude?
Oh, wow. Okay. I think Prof. Angie, you can. Yeah.
So if you recall me using the word embodiment, so when we embody acceptance that people are all different, and embodying non-judging. So let go of judgments, because people are acting a certain way because they are also holding to certain judgments. Just as, we might think, oh, my mother is not a nice person, but actually our mother thinks of us as not being a nice daughter. So when we both hold this judgment, it's actually hard to have a breakthrough. So it's really up to us to let go of the judgment and say, yeah, sometimes my mom is not very nice to me, but that doesn't make her not a nice person. It just makes her not nice from time to time because of her mood. Sometimes things go wrong in her life. She gets agitated, frustrated, and therefore she becomes a bit mean. And sometimes, I may trigger her. So when we can isolate and unpack what goes on in a day, rather than seeing like the whole day is ruined just because we had an argument. It's not a whole day that's been ruined. It's just the few moments we had an argument, that those moments were unpleasant. But if we don't hold on to those moments and keep repeating them in our mind like a broken record, then those moments just stay in those moments that happened. So part of mindfulness is knowing how to unpack this and to be able to see that one day has 360 minutes. No, is that correct? 24 hours times 60 is not 360. It's more than that. Sorry. I don't think I got my sum correct. But there are many minutes. And to be able to isolate helps us to not prolong something that's unpleasant. And we end up holding a grudge when we prolong it because we keep replaying it in our mind. So it can be done. It's practice. That's why, it's not something that Rebecca developed, like over 2 lessons. In the NUS, it's a 13-week course. Yeah. And Rebecca, when would you say the turning point was for you?
I think it was really from the retreat. Yeah. I think the retreat was already half into our lessons, which is like the 7th session or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who take the courses from Brahm Centre, the retreat is usually also the turning point, and it is usually after the 6th lesson. Okay, I think one more question is, while I work on changing myself and my thoughts towards my mom, any tips on how to manage in the meantime? For example, when I get frustrated with my mom, I have to admit it's hard to watch what I say sometimes.
Okay, interesting. All right, okay. I say interesting is because this of course happened to me before as well. Yeah, so I think it's perfectly normal that you do not just by having these positive thoughts, try to consciously having all these positive thoughts does not mean that you can just change within one day, within 1 week. It has to be like a gradual process. And I think how I manage was I will start with like other small practices, like mindful practices every day. So actually I had this like jar. So every night I will like write on a small note, and then I'll write about like, let's say, grateful things that I felt today. If like you want to talk about like, especially towards like your mom, you can just say like, I'm grateful for my mom for doing all this, all this, all this, and you can put it in a jar. And I think as my jar started accumulating, my mind has also kind of basically absorb the fact that she has also done a lot for me. And so whenever I get frustrated or angry with my mom, the it has like I have this conscious reminder that I am angry now. I have to calm down first before I talk to her. So I just don't say anything when I'm angry, and then maybe I'll take a look at the jar, and then I'll feel like, okay, don't repeat the same mistake that I have done in the past again. Yeah.
Wonderful. So what you are actually sharing there is the cultivation of the gratitude attitude,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because gratitude helps us to let go of the anger. It helps to remind us that, hey, there were times when my parent was very kind to me, was very generous with me, and even forgiving towards me. So that helps us to let go of this little irritant or something that we don't agree on, and be able to let that go. Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, I see another question here. My mom was always abusive. I've always felt lonely growing up. She was not only overprotective, but emotionally neglectful. Now I'm 34-year-old and I have a daughter. Life has changed a lot, but my question is, how do I forget the painful memories of childhood abuse? So I would really like to encourage this person to seek counseling, to work through those painful memories. But remember, memories are strong when we keep reminding ourselves of it. So we have a part to play as well to let go of the past by trying to understand her past and why she behaved the way she did. What was her childhood like? So this is not about making excuses for someone, but rather for us to understand from a different perspective, to see things from a different perspective. But certainly there's a lot of hurt, and is to allow yourself to heal yourself by first, giving yourself a soothing gesture, and to please seek professional counseling. Okay. And when we sometimes don't heal our relationship with our parent, we may end up passing on some of these baggage onto our relationship with our children. Yeah. So there's a question here on how do I repair a strained relationship. So I'm going to use my slides now. So this is a great question to lead to, oops, what I'm going to share here. Sorry about that. Let me try that again, as I have probably too many things open. Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see this now. So 4 things to avoid as a parent, as our children are growing up, is to come across authoritative. So it's like telling our kids what to do. Because our kids have now grown up to a stage that they want to be able to make their own decisions. Yes, it's true that not all their decisions are good, but using an authoritative approach, saying, no, don't do this, listen to me, I know better. This kind of words just pushes our kid away and would result in them being less willing to listen to even whatever beneficial statements that we may have to make. And the other approach is dismissive, which is also to avoid. So like not listening to their unhappiness, their frustration, or even their difficulties. So dismissive would just means that, oh yeah, well, if you just listen to me, you won't have all these problems. So that is quite dismissive. It's like the problem is you, right? Or the problem is you're not taking care of yourself. So instead, I will give you some tips on what to do, but please try not to be dismissive. Instead is to acknowledge, right? And to be able to say, oh, so, you are feeling quite unhappy about this, and to explore that. And to reduce judging, because when we judge them negatively, they feel inadequate. They feel that they're not good enough for us. Like they are inferior. They have turned out to be a disappointment, especially when we are critical. So you remember when your child was first conceived in your tummy or your womb, you were just so happy, right? Assuming you wanted the child. You were just so happy, so delighted, so overjoyed that you finally managed to get pregnant. And when the baby was born, you were like just overwhelmed with emotions that your baby has turned out to be healthy. And you were so curious and so excited to see her development, her ability to gurgle, just make some sounds, to laugh, to respond to you. And of course, the first steps were huge, right? It's like, wow, she took her first step and now she can stand or she can feed herself. And our child was just so comforted by our glee, our delight, our pride. And then as they grew up, something changed, right? They were just growing up. Our expectations set in. We want them to be like somebody else's kid. We want them to be doing well in school. We want them to be able to play certain instruments, or to develop talents, to be the pride and joy of our life. And this wanting sometimes result in us making them feel inadequate, like they're just not good enough. They have to keep improving, they have to keep striving, they have to keep working harder. And they could never hear from us like, proud of you, I'm just so happy you're my daughter. And that will mean a whole world to them, right? So let go of the judging, because sometimes it really hurts them. And as they grow older, they would like their space. So they would like us as parents to not be a nosy Parker. That means, to always try to find out what they're doing. And this actually causes them to feel a sense of distrust. And the more we try to keep an eye on what they're doing and not trusting them, may cause them to actually be less responsible. So if we can actually say to them, I trust you, you're growing up, and I trust that you know what is good for you. Of course, to still keep an eye out, but you have to be very subtle, and not come across that you are distrusting. Yeah. So what are some of the things to do? Is to explain and discuss. And at the end of the day, they're actually free to choose. Sometimes we don't like it because we feel that our recommendation is the best thing for them. More importantly is to discuss with them what are consequences of choices, so that we become part of their journey in making choices. And we also teach them how to assess choices that they have. Yeah. Look at all the scams around us. People are free to choose to invest, but are they aware of consequences? That when you invest in something that's going to be a quick get rich, the consequence is that is high risk. There's no such thing as a quick to get rich option that is not high risk. And sometimes it's not even high risk, it is a scam. Impossible to make that kind of money. So when we actually encourage them to think of choices and the consequences, then they're more likely to make better choices. And we then equip them with wisdom and not to be the one making the choice for them. So even, choosing a boyfriend instead of like approving, not approving, is to say, okay, so what do you see some of the strengths of this boy? Uh, what are his qualities? And what are his weaknesses, and get them to reflect what each of that means in terms of having to live with someone like that. Yeah. Listen more and say less because everyone wants to be heard. Yeah, and sometimes as parents, maybe we say too much. So if we listen, we would actually also see that our little girl is no longer so little. Our little girl is growing up or has grown up, and she has a whole lot more um, possibilities that she's exploring in her mind. She has so many friends that are influencing her. So it's a way of us also coming to terms with that we need to trust. Yeah, we need to be there to support them and continue to be a cheerleader. Uh, it's like, cheerleaders, they go and support the team in playing a game. It doesn't mean the team is going to win every time. And neither are our kids going to do well every time. But it doesn't matter. We're still there to cheer them on, to be encouraging. And, if they don't win this time or they don't do very well this time, it's okay. Life is a journey. It's not a competition, and even if there's a competition, you can't win every time. So this is also how we teach our children to be resilient. Yeah, that there's always a next time. Yeah.